The party in Alembi Grand Hall is bright and loud when Amina walks in with Kofi, and for a second everything feels normal until she smiles at a group of colleagues and says, "This is my roommate." Kofi freezes as laughter ripples across the room and the HR manager's smile goes thin. 5 years of tiny proofs, shared rent receipts, late-night study notes, rooftop promises, shrink into a single cruel joke. He leaves the laughter behind and, instead of shouting, does something quiet and sharp. He records a voice note Amina once sent him saying, "You are my future," gathers hostel receipts and a lease with both their names, and borrows a friend's press badge to get near the DJ booth. When the CEO clinks a glass and the room leans in, Kofi takes the microphone as a guest speaker, and plays a short video montage of their life, birthday pictures from Ada Lane, ATM slips with his name, a ring with the tiny inscription only she would know. The laughter dies. He says one line that lands harder than anger, "If I am her roommate, why is every landlord and ATM in this city sending her my name?" Then he hands a sealed envelope to the company lawyer, asks only for the truth to be heard, and lets the clip do the rest. The next days are messy. Social feeds light up, Amina gives a short apology, some people are furious, some sympathetic. Kofi refuses the spotlight that follows, posts one image of an empty chair with the words, "Respect is earned, not introduced," and walks toward sunrise, calmer and more himself than he has been in years. That night in the hall, Kofi feels something inside him break and at the same time tighten into a sharp focus. Memories come back fast and clear. He remembers the first night on the rooftop in Zamfara Market, when they promised each other small things that felt huge. He remembers Amina laughing under the stars while he swore he would try harder for both of them. He remembers turning down a scholarship that would have taken him away for a chance to build a life with her here. It was not one big choice but many small ones, sharing a thin mattress, cooking the same packet of rice for months, waking up early to study and late to work so they could pay the bills together. Those small sacrifices stacked into trust. Now, one word in front of people he works with tries to erase all of that. Kofi does not answer with yelling. He slips out of the bright room and lets the shame sit with him a while. Then he pulls his phone and listens to a voice note he had saved, a soft message Amina once sent in the middle of the night that ends with, "You are my future." The memory of her voice makes the anger quiet into something else, a plan that is calm and true. He types 2 names into his phone without pause. He texts her boss a short message with a date and a few words, "Proof we lived together, proof we were more than a joke." He texts another message to a woman in Botu he knows Amina did not want to hear from. He does not threaten. He simply says he has something important that shows who they were. Then Kofi begins to gather quiet evidence like a careful builder stacking bricks. He opens old folders and finds hostel receipts with both their names, bank slips that show rent paid on the same day, photos from Ada Lane where they both smile in a cramped kitchen, a ring with a tiny inscription only Amina would know. He saves chat threads where she calls him baby and makes future plans. He makes a short video on his phone of these small things, not to punish but to show what is real. With each piece he collects, his hurt changes into steady purpose. He knows how to use proof better than anger. He thinks about how people will react when they see the small facts line up. He thinks about the moment he will speak and how the truth, quiet and patient, can cut through laughter faster than a shout. By the end of the night he has a sealed envelope, the voice note queued, and a plan that feels like breathing again. He is not ready to hurt Amina. He is ready to make the room remember what actually happened between them. Kofi will not shout. He refuses the easy heat of a public scene and instead builds a quiet plan that feels like a slow, steady breath. First, he decides to show, not to punish. He makes a short video montage on his phone from the small pieces of life they shared, grainy birthday clips, the tiny kitchen where they once ate sad noodles, a hostel receipt with both their names, a screenshot where she wrote, "Let's move in next year," a photo of them on a dusty rooftop in Zamfara Market holding cheap plastic cups and pretending to toast the future. He keeps the montage calm, no music that tries to rile people up, only the sound of a city or a soft message she once sent. Second, he prints a simple timeline on paper, dates and small facts stacked like bricks. Rent paid together, the day they signed the lease on Ada Lane, the month he turned down the scholarship, the exact days of hospital visits and late shifts. He staples photocopies of bills, bank slips, and chat threads to prove the dates. He packs these pages into a sealed envelope for the company lawyer, not to weaponize but to keep a record that the room can check. Third, he prepares one clear public question to cut through noise. It is short and almost ordinary. He wants the room to answer itself. He practices it until it feels unavoidable. To make the plan work, he lines up quiet help. A friend in communications lends him a press badge so he can move behind the stage. Another friend who DJ'd the event agrees to a nearly invisible cue that will put the montage on the big screen at the moment Kofi steps up. He times everything to the CEO's toast, when attention will be on the stage and people will not expect interruption. He rehearses the run in his head the way a runner times a race. He imagines every possible small problem. What if the DJ forgets? What if someone stops him before he reaches the mic? He builds backup choices. He chooses allies who will be calm and honest, people who understand that this is not about spectacle but about truth. He tells himself again and again that this is not revenge. It is correction. He keeps his voice steady in practice, low and polite. He imagines how his one line will land in the hall and how silence will make people listen. He thinks about how proof arranged neatly on a timeline is harder to laugh at than a speech full of anger. He wants the truth to speak plainly, to let ordinary facts replace gossip. The plan is simple on purpose. It relies on timing, small proofs, and a single question that will force the room to choose between laughter and honesty. As he folds the printed pages and slides the montage into his phone, his anger becomes a tool he uses carefully. He feels a strange calm. He knows that when the moment comes, the room will remember not fingers pointing but the quiet order of facts. The hall is warm with lights and soft laughter as the CEO raises his glass and the room leans into the toast, but Kofi moves through that warmth like a shadow with a purpose. A friend slips him a press badge and guides him up the side toward the stage while people clap and smile, not knowing what is about to happen. Amina watches from the crowd and for a second her confident smile thins and then goes pale as she sees him walk up. He taps the mic politely and asks, quiet but steady, if he can say something. The DJ, who agreed to a tiny signal, fades the music and the big screen comes alive with things nobody had expected to see, a hostile receipt with both their names, a photo of earlier birthdays in a cramped kitchen where they share a single plate, a messy snapshot of Ada Lane with the two of them laughing on the stairs. The images move slowly so the room can catch each small fact. You can hear glasses set down, a shoe squeak on the floor, then the low sound of a voice note Amina once sent, her words soft and private, playing for everyone. The mood cracks from easy laughter to an uncomfortable hush. People who had smiled start to look around at each other. The HR manager's smile stiffens into something like worry. A junior manager who moments before had been whispering into his phone lifts it now and hits record. Kofi keeps his face calm. He does not shout or point. He lets the pictures do the speaking, the dates and names and little proofs that fit together like puzzle pieces. Then he leans forward just a little and says the line he practiced until it felt like plain truth, if I am her roommate, why is every landlord and ATM in this city sending her my name? The words fall into the room and land heavier than a joke. For a beat there is nothing but the hum of the lights and the rustle of a dress. Amina opens her mouth, closes it, searches for something quick and clever to say, and finds only a flinch. The CEO's brow lifts and he looks toward the company lawyer. Someone murmurs, was that a joke, and then stops because the proof on the screen does not look like a joke. Phones are out. Whispered questions move fast from table to table. Faces that laughed a moment ago go still. A few people look ashamed. Others look like detectives who just found a clue. The power of the moment is not in spectacle. It is in a slow stacking of small, ordinary facts that together make the laughter look small and weak. Kofi steps back from the mic with a quiet nod. He has not shouted. He has not ruined anyone. He has only set the room to a different light where truth fits plainly and people have to answer what they see. Kofi reaches into his jacket and pulls out a sealed envelope like someone who has carried a quiet truth for a long time. He walks to the company lawyer and, with hands that do not shake, places it on the table and asks one small favor: open it and let the record speak. The lawyer breaks the seal and the room leans in as if the air itself wants to hear. Inside are neat photocopies, a lease signed by both their names, a stack of bank slips showing shared rent on the same days, a notarized printout of messages where Amina calls him her future, and a tiny photograph of a ring with an inscription he says only she would know. The DJ brings the volume up and the private voice note Amina once sent plays soft and sure across the hall. Her voice saying things that had lived between them now fills the room. Conversations stop mid-breath and people look at their phones and then at one another. A junior manager, shaking a little, pulls out his phone and posts the clip live. The sound of that click is like a match. Within minutes phones buzz and social feeds light up. Some colleagues feel shame and lower their eyes. Others try to defend the moment they laughed, saying it was a joke, but the documents are quiet and steady and harder to laugh at. The PR team, who moments ago were smiling beside the buffet, huddle together and whisper over what to say. Amina stands frozen, color leaving her face, words trapped behind a sudden awareness that private promises can become public proof. Comments and messages begin to roll in from people who were not there, strangers who cheer the man who used facts instead of fury, others who urge compassion for both sides. Rumors turn to screenshots and then to articles when the clip spreads beyond the company walls. The room fractures into small groups, some move closer to Kofi with awkward apologies, others glance toward Amina seeking explanation or excuse. HR steps in quietly, asking for a moment to talk, while the CEO looks between the lawyer and the screen, thinking about the company and what this moment does to trust and office culture. Kofi watches the ripple he started with no triumph on his face, only a steady calm. He never tried to humiliate Amina further, only to show what was true. The evidence does its work, not loudly, but clearly, and the fallout begins: messages from friends, calls from family, a flood of online reactions. The party that was supposed to be light and easy becomes a turning point, one where a sealed envelope and a soft voice decide more than gossip ever could. Amina scrambles for answers while the room watches, her voice small and quick as she says it was a joke, a slip of words, taken out of context, but the evidence on the screen and the envelope on the table do not look like a joke. People who laughed a moment ago now whisper and shift in their seats. Kofi keeps himself steady. He could shout or point fingers, but he wants something clearer than vindication. He asks for one thing: a public correction and a real apology so the truth is heard where the lie was told. The CEO stands up between them, the weight of the company on his shoulders, and for a moment you can feel how hard that choice is. If he lets the moment slide, the laughter could be taken as permission for small cruelties. If he forces Amina to explain on a stage where colleagues will judge, he risks making the hurt worse. He calls Amina up to the microphone and asks her to say what she meant and to correct the record. The office holds its breath. Amina starts with nervous words about how she did not mean to hurt anyone, about poor phrasing at a busy night, but people hear the same private voice note and the same dates and proofs, and her excuses sound thin. The company lawyer files a copy of the envelope in HR, and soon the clip on someone's phone has been shared across feeds and into email chains. The PR team, sensing the story could leave the office, meets in a corner with the CEO, drafting a statement that balances privacy, fairness, and the firm's values. Around the hall, alliances form and shift. Some colleagues feel guilty for joining a laugh, others defend Amina, saying everyone slips up and deserves grace. HR asks both of them to meet after the event, not as judges but as listeners, to understand what happened and to record the facts. Kofi insists he will not use this as revenge. He refuses to humiliate Amina further, even when some people urge him to push harder. He says he wants only an honest correction in front of the people who heard the lie, and a promise that the company will remind staff about respect and truth. That line between anger and dignity is hard. People talk about optics and policies and how one small joke can ripple into a big trust problem at work. The viral clip becomes evidence and a lesson. Kofi's calm request for recognition forces others to choose, protect gossip, or protect people. In the end, the CEO reads a short statement that asks the company to hold itself to a higher standard. Amina offers a brief apology that sounds strained but true enough for some and not for others. Kofi steps back with no triumph, only a quiet clarity that this moment was never about shaming but about making the room remember what respect looks like. In the days after the video spreads, the office feels different, and so does Kofi. People who laughed now lower their eyes when he passes. A few come to him with quiet, awkward apologies, fumbling for words that feel small against 5 years of shared life. He listens, accepts some apologies, and lets others sit with their guilt. He does not chase praise or headlines. Instead, he goes to HR and asks for a simple, formal step: recognition of their partnership in the company records, a way to make what was private an official fact at work so gossip has less room to grow. It is paperwork and a meeting and nothing dramatic, but it matters to him more than any viral applause. Invitations arrive, interviews, late-night shows, colleagues who want to throw a party to celebrate the moment. He says no to most of it. He thanks people for their concern and declines the spotlight because his point was never fame. He wants respect to be ordinary again. Amina gets messages offering mediation. Some people suggest counseling, others say she should be forgiven. She faces whispers in corridors and awkward coffee breaks where people do not know how to act. HR offers both of them a mediated meeting and Kofi agrees, but only because he wants clarity, not revenge. He sits across from Amina with a paper full of dates and receipts and speaks plainly about truth and responsibility. Some days are heavy. Some days lift a little. Outside work, life steadies in small ways. He travels to Nyala village for a weekend and sits with his grandmother on a quiet porch. She cooks, she listens, and she says in a voice that always ends arguments, "Keep your head straight." Dignity lasts longer than noise. Those words become a quiet guide. He posts no long statements, only continues the small rituals that built his life before the party: paying bills on time, answering messages, being there for neighbors. Social feeds calm as new stories move in. Some people still share the clip with hot takes. Others send messages of support and stories of their own moments when truth had to be said. At work, policies change slowly. The company updates event guidelines, HR runs training about respect, and managers talk about how one careless joke can cost trust. Kofi finds that being a symbol is not something he chose, but he accepts it gently, using it to push for simple changes that protect others. Friends who once laughed see him differently, and some rebuild the friendship with quiet care. He refuses offers to monetize the moment or to let anger steer him. Instead, he files the paperwork, shows up for the mediated meeting, spends time with his grandmother, and keeps living. Over time, public opinion shifts from loud fascination to a softer respect. The viral spark fades, but what remains is steadier: a man who chose a calm truth over spectacle, and a small change in a workplace that will keep the room safer for the next person who walks in. The clip goes hot fast. Phones light up, feeds fill with the montage, and strangers write to Kofi with short notes of thanks and disbelief. Journalists call asking for a comment, and the PR team scrambles to shape a statement. Amina posts a short apology that sounds honest to some and too small to others. The office splits into quiet camps. Some people say she deserves a second chance. Others still feel the sting of the first laugh and cannot forget. Kofi does not write a long letter or take interviews to chase fame. He posts one photo of an empty chair with the words, "Respect is earned, not introduced." The image is simple and the caption does the work. It spreads as fast as the montage, and people add their own replies and memories. The viral moment forces the company to act. Leaders update event rules, HR runs new workshops about how to speak to colleagues, and managers are reminded that small jokes can cause big harm. Friendships change. Some co-workers who once laughed find their way back, humble and quiet. Others drift away because trust is not the same. Amina faces conversations and offers for mediation. Some forgive. Some do not. Kofi meets with HR and files for formal recognition of his partnership, not to boast but to make the record match reality. He refuses offers to make money off the moment or to parade his story on shows. Instead he chooses ordinary things, meetings, bills, visits. He spends a weekend with his grandmother who tells him to hold his head high because dignity outlasts noise. In the last scene he walks alone toward the light on Kijani Pier. The sun rises slow and soft. He does not look victorious. He looks lighter. The viral heat cools and people move on, but the room remembers. The moment taught a simple truth: respect cannot be invented for a laugh. It must be shown every day. Kofi walks on, carrying that quiet lesson with him.